No one is talking about this while everyone prepares for Brad Living's next move and the beginning of the regular season. There's one thing that fans aren't talking enough about. We're going to break down exactly what that is, but also discuss some interesting comments that have emerged surrounding John Tavares that has everyone very excited, as well as a few other interesting updates on this episode. But before we get into it all, if you're part of that percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Leafs content. About 70% of you who are watching right now aren't subscribed, so make sure to hit that subscribe button. And thank you guys again for your continued support over here, Darius. A lot to go over today, and the regular season is inching closer and closer. It is already the end of August. It has flown by, and we're still waiting for Brad Living's next move. I'm sure there will be one. But in the meantime, there's been some more comments that have emerged, and today we're going to be talking about William Nylander and some interesting things that he has said, but also just the narrative around William Nylander heading into this season. It's a very interesting one, especially after last year. But let's start with some of the quotes that he spoke about. Now, of course, the pressure in Toronto, that's been something that's been well documented, especially following the, Leafs collapse against the Florida Panthers, if you want to call it that. Although, they went on to win the Cup, so it was still a very tough matchup. But he said, I think people forget that we as players also want to win. I think we have our goal to want to go all the way. I've been playing for a while, but I don't know. I don't really think about what other people say or what their opinion is on how we're playing. And we know that inside the locker room, they know what to do. It's not an easy battle, and you have to appreciate the grind. And obviously, William Nylander has been one of the players that I think out of everybody on the team, he probably gets the least hate, I guess, at least from the fan base, because he extended. He seems to love, playing here, and he's backed it up with his play. And there were some question marks coming into this year, or I guess last year, about what his play will be like after the extension, and it's been really good. But people aren't talking enough about how good William Nylander, A, was last year, and B, how much that'll matter going into next year without Mitch Marner and William Nylander having to step up, whether that's on the second line or a potential, albeit slightly unlikely, but a potential for him, pairing with Austin Matthews on that first line, depending how crazy Craig Berube wants to go.
Yeah, we'll see how crazy they want to go with some of the line pairings. I don't think that they should be playing together, but we can discuss that in another video, closer to the preseason and whatnot. But there's a lot to break down here. And, William Nylander, I think, embraces pressure. He plays better under the bright lights, which a lot of players do not do, not just in the league, but obviously in Toronto. He was built for this market. He walks around the city with his dogs off leash. People see him all the time, and he's just, a very chill guy. And obviously he wants to win a Stanley Cup in Toronto. He's right. Like, he seems very driven to me. When it matters, this guy turns it on, and he always has. And it never really started that way in terms of the fan reaction that you alluded to. Obviously his first couple of years, I feel like majority of people liked Mitch Marner better than him, and a lot of people did not like William Nylander's game. And obviously things have shifted completely. And I think it's through his play and the way that he's spoken about the team, the city, the fact that he wants to win a championship here, and you can actually see it in his play when it matters. Can he be better defensively? Absolutely, right? Like, I'll be the first one to admit, I love William Nylander, but can he be better defensively? Yes, 100%. But, he is a great player in this league. He has his strengths. He's really good at what he does, right? And obviously Phil Kessel, if you want to go back to Phil Kessel, people said that he couldn't win in Toronto because he didn't play defense. That wasn't his game. He went on to win 3 Stanley Cups playing his game, right? So let William Nylander play his game, build a team around him, which I think Brad Treliving has done, not just him, but obviously Austin Matthews. But for the sake of this video, obviously just talking about William Nylander. But I'm excited to see what he does next year because, like you alluded to as well, he signed that contract. And sometimes when these players get those contracts, you'll see them take a dip for a couple of years because they're feeling comfortable, they're fat and happy, however you want to say it, with their contract. That wasn't the case. He still looks very hungry. He had a better year last year. He scored, he was second in the league in goal scoring. Absolutely electric season. So I think he's going to try and build off of that. The Leafs have potential to have 2 50-goal scorers on the team this year, which I think is super exciting, besides the fact that they've, rebuilt the bottom 6, which is super exciting as well. So should be fun to watch, and I just love his attitude.
Yeah, and obviously you can make a case that he's still young, so he could obviously get better next year. And speaking of getting better, we think about John Tavares' emergence last year. This is yet another player. This is William Nylander now, who's praising John Tavares and saying that William Nylander on John Tavares, of course, staying in Toronto for less money and the kind of leadership that 91 brings. He's been an incredible leader for me, and I've learned a lot from him both on and off the ice. He's been great for the team and showed his commitment to wanting to wake up in Toronto. So I think everybody in the team appreciates that a lot. And obviously, William Nylander has been a guy who has always enjoyed John Tavares. I think back to the end of the season, the press conference, the shift in attitude between Mitch Marner and then when he was asked about John Tavares, but also just kind of the way that last season went. And again, we covered this in the video a few days ago. Feel free to check that one out, or you can pause and read through here. He also spoke about Mitch Marner a little bit and didn't walk back anything, but still said he was a big, great friend of his and that he's sad he's going to go and all these different things. But at the end of the day here, he has a job to do. And I think John Tavares being back, clearly, like we covered a few months ago now, it was more than just the player on the ice. It was everything else that he brings. And now coming back to Toronto for less, that's another thing. Like, despite all, there's so many moves that have happened in a short period of time and then not much after that. John Tavares being a part of that group of moves, that was one of the biggest signings of the offseason. It's something that will elevate, William Nylander, it'll elevate everybody else. And I think at the end of the day, I appreciate, William Nylander and John Tavares, but they both need to take a big step forward next year, especially now that, Mitch Marner's gone. If they don't add another top six, we have to continue to look for improvements from guys like William Nylander. And maybe, we'll probably all be happy if John Tavares just remains the same as what he did last year, because I think that was about the best case scenario for him.
He had a great year, 38 goals, right? But I think one thing that's flying under the radar with a lot of Leaf fans right now heading into this year is the mindset change, because I think there actually is a subtle one heading into this year that not a lot of people are talking about. When you think of Mitch Marner, and listen, he's a fantastic player, but we all saw the Amazon documentary and him complaining on the bench and the fact that in the playoffs, he was always looking to the referees and all this stuff, right? It's hard as a team to kind of rally behind that stuff. It really is. But coming into this year, William Nylander's locked up. He's talked about how much he wants to win a championship here. John Tavares said, hey guys, I'm going to take half of what I'm worth on the open market to stay here because I want to be here and I want to win a Stanley Cup here. Matthew Nyes did the same thing. I want to be here. Whether he, could have taken more of a pay cut, whatever, it's fine. I think he's worth that money, right? But he, besides all that, he said, I want to be here. I want to be a Toronto Maple Leaf. I signed long term. That's infectious, right? Like when you bring that into the room next season, when you bring that onto the bench and these guys just want to go to war, because you see that with Matthew Nyes. We've seen it in the documentary with William Nylander, right? Just put your head down, get to work. It flows through the rest of the team. So I feel like the team will be different for that reason next season. You're just going to put your head down and get to work. And I feel like the rest of the team, they knew they had some weaknesses. Brad Treliving saw it, right? We need to allocate some of that money to the bottom six. We need more scoring. The bottom six needs to be more physical. Just make more of an impact somehow, right? And they did that with Dakota Joshua and some of the other guys they picked up like Nicolas Waugh, right? So I'm excited for the season for that reason. And I feel like some of this, what Nylander's talking about, feeds into that stuff. I feel like they're going to be a better team physically, mentally, all of these things heading into next year. But like you mentioned, they probably still need one more piece. And if they don't get that, some of these guys have to step up big in big ways.
Yeah, definitely more physical, definitely better team, at least maybe not team morale, because it seems like a lot of the guys love Mitch Marner, but I think the mindset is better prepared for a playoff spurt. And most importantly, they have, I think, a more deep team than they had last year. And you mentioned Nyes wants to be there, Nylander wants to be there. Nyes didn't really take a pay cut, but he shouldn't, right? This is his first big contract, so obviously he'll want to get paid, which is a bit different than guys like, obviously, even Mitch Marner to a degree, who, force his way out of Toronto, kind of. But at the end of the day here, let's dive into a couple things before we wrap up. We have some moves, I guess, being made, not necessarily the moves that a lot of us wanted to. Not that this is bad or anything, but we obviously want to see a big top six move. But welcome Ryan Leslie as the new team host. So very interesting there. And it's a time of year where these are the type of moves we're getting. So congratulations to Ryan Leslie. It'll be interesting to see what he can put together for everybody there. And for those actually curious, because team host is a pretty broad term, they're responsible for delivering exclusive content, news, behind the scenes access for Maple Leafs fans. So that's actually pretty big. Obviously throughout the season, seeing stuff behind the scenes. I mean, you mentioned it briefly, like what Mitch Marner was like behind the scenes. Obviously it's seeing a lot of different things there regarding the Leafs players. I think this upcoming season will be very interesting to see a lot of the exclusive content behind the scenes stuff, because very different team without Mitch Marner, and we're going to hear a lot about, I'm sure, the difference between what the team is like with and without Mitch Marner. But folks, that'll wrap it up. Let us know down below what your thoughts are on all of this. Thank you guys for watching. See you later.